I bet you never imagined an inanimate object like a water tank would be involved in some of the most bizarre and unsolved mysteries. This episode of Strangeries will explore the strange cases of Elisa Lam and the group of cows, all of whom were found either dead or barely alive inside water tanks. This is the water tank Enigmas. In June 2002, 19 cows were found stuffed inside a sheet metal water tank in Argentina, 9 of which died from asphyxiation from being submerged, and the rest were barely alive due to the freezing temperatures of the water. What no one has been able to explain is how these cows managed to get inside the tank. They would have had to cross an electric drover, a 1.5 metre fence, and then jump over the tank wall. This mystery followed on from a spate of more than 300 cattle mutilations in the local and surrounding areas. These mutilations were out of the ordinary, as it seemed that only precise tools or instruments could have inflicted the injuries caused to the cattle. The mutilations consisted of removing eyes, tongues and parts of the face and jaws. There were also cases of the anus being removed, which left large holes at the rear of the cow. They could have been caused by a predator, but this is unlikely due to the nature of the injuries and the relative safety of the cattle living on farms. Persons in the UFO community would suggest that extraterrestrial visitors caused the mutilations. Others would argue that the military were conducting tests with new technology. However the cows got inside the water tank and whatever caused these injuries remains unanswered. Was it a predator? Was it aliens, or was it a secret military experiment? I'll leave that up to you to decide. The next enigma involves the unfortunate death of Elisa Lam, a Canadian student who attended the University of British Columbia in Vancouver. Elisa was visiting several cities in Southern California, which she described as her West Coast tour on her Tumblr blog. She arrived in Los Angeles on the 26th of January 2013 and checked into the Cecil Hotel located near downtown Skid Row. The Cecil Hotel has its fair share of connections to death and murder, most notably being connected to one of the most famous unsolved murders of all time, the Black Dahlia. She originally shared a room on the 5th floor with some other guests, but they complained to the hotel about her certain odd behaviour. Hotel management then moved her to her own room. Her disappearance had been widely reported. Interest had increased 5 days prior to her body's discovery, when the Los Angeles Police Department released video of the last time she was known to have been seen on the day of her disappearance by an elevator security camera. In the footage, Lam is seen exiting and re-entering the elevator, talking and gesturing in the hallway outside, and sometimes seeming to hide within the elevator, which itself appears to be malfunctioning. Her body was recovered from a water tank at the top of the hotel on February 19, 2013. She had been reported missing at the beginning of the month. Maintenance workers at the hotel discovered the body when investigating guest complaints of problems with the water supply. The video went viral on the internet, with many viewers reporting that they found it unsettling. Explanations ranged from claims of paranormal involvement to the bipolar disorder from which Lam suffered. It has also been argued that the video was altered prior to release. The circumstances of Lam's death when she was found also raised questions, especially in light of the Cecil's history in relation to other notable deaths and murders. Her body was naked, with most of her clothes and personal effects floating in the water near her. It took the Los Angeles County Coroner's Office 4 months after repeated delays to release the autopsy report, which reports no evidence of physical trauma and states that the cause of death was accidental. Guests at the Cecil, now rebranded as the Stay on Main, sued the hotel over the incident, and Lam's parents filed a separate suit later that year. The latter was dismissed in 2015. Many theories abound on Elisa's death, some suggesting she was attempting to flee an attacker, which would explain her trying to hide in the elevator and being frustrated at its apparent malfunctioning state. Others suggest that her bipolar disorder may have been the reason for her odd and erratic behaviour, but she had been taking prescription drugs to combat the disorder, evidenced from the toxicology test during her autopsy. The investigation only served to explain how she died, but not how she managed to get inside the water tank. Doors and stairs that access the hotel's roof are locked, with only staff having the passcodes and keys, and any attempt to force them would supposedly have triggered an alarm. All 4 tanks are 4-foot by 8-foot cylinders propped up on concrete blocks. There is no fixed access to them, and hotel workers had to use a ladder to look at the water. They are protected by heavy lids that would be difficult to replace from within the tank. Police dogs that searched through the hotel for Lam, even on the roof, shortly after her disappearance was noted, did not find any trace of her, it was recalled, although they had not searched the area near the water tanks. However, the hotel's fire escape could have allowed her to bypass those security measures, if she or someone who might have accompanied her there had known. A video made by a Chinese user after Lam's death and posted to the internet showed that the hotel's roof was easily accessible via the fire escape and that 2 of the lids of the water tanks were open. So, how did 19 of our bovine friends and Elisa Lam end up in these water tanks without any real explanation of how they got there? Did the cows suddenly have an episode of folie à deux and follow each other to certain doom like a group of lemmings? Or did extraterrestrial visitors plant them inside the tanks? How did Elisa get to the top of Cecil Hotel and then somehow traverse the side of the tank and pull the lid over? Or did an attacker manage to persuade her to commit suicide, leaving no trace of a murder and the only possible explanation of accidental death? However they got inside these tanks remains a mystery, perhaps one that may never be answered. How do you think they got inside the tanks? Why not leave a comment, as I'd love to know what your thoughts are. If you liked the video, please give it a thumbs up, and if you're new to my channel, why not check out some of my other videos and maybe even subscribe if you want to see more content from me. Thanks for watching.